just about 1:10, and it is the 19th. 2 more days until the solstice. I've mentioned the solstice quite a bit. I've written about it quite a bit. Um, Reason being is the least amount of light that we're going to get in a single day in the course of a year. Everything's compressed down to this day. And then every day thereafter gets a little bit lighter until we hit the summer solstice, longest night of the year. Both worthy of celebration in their way. Both have to do with light. Light is a very big deal in the primeval world, in the beginning, when we didn't necessarily know where light was coming from, how the sun worked. We just knew some days were longer than others, some nights were longer than others, and it was cause for, we could say, worship. Our friend Osiris is here. Good morning, Eric. Hey, good morning, Eric. How are you? So I was wondering if anyone might pop in today, because I thought about steering up. I never have a topic. I never have a subject to talk about. I just show up and talk, and we see where it goes. But burpees were on my mind. Burpees, yoga, of course, as well as diet, sleep, well-being. And that the course for my burpees have taken a sharp yogic turn towards well-being, prioritized over rep count. And no way am I implying that rep count isn't something that I'm interested in. The funny thing is, whenever you do a reset, you get a brand new opportunity for hitting PRs, because everything you do basically is a PR. There's room for everything. Nothing has to be denied. However, what I find myself, my mentality, is sometimes I take that turn away from well-being. I take it into the realm of how many reps I can get, how fast can I go, how many miles can I run, how much weight can I lift, how much yoga can I yoga. Literally, my back has been aching for a number of months now because of my yoga practice, and refusing to make some necessary adjustments for a long time, because I was hitting some, for me, more extreme asanas, holding for a greater length of time, because I had an objective that I wanted to achieve with my yoga. The thing is, sometimes it's better to not have an objective. That's the thing, in spiritual realm, and they talk about seekers, and the only way you ever know when you arrive is when you abandon the concept of being a seeker. For me, it was, I don't know if I ever considered myself a seeker. It was more of being an explorer. It was more of having an early realization and then exploring it from there. I didn't have to seek an awakening. I didn't have to seek enlightenment. I didn't have to seek God, because all of that was right here, right now. I was lucky in that regard. I've been unfortunate in the regard of hitting the reps and chasing strength. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you know what? 58, you start to reevaluate, because your back hurts, your shoulder hurts, your neck hurts, little things. Months, maybe a year or so ago, I hurt my back sitting down to write. I cut my hand on a piece of toast. Seriously. Actually, honestly, it wasn't toast yet. It was Ezekiel bread. It was frozen. I was trying to break it apart, and I cut my hand making toast. Weird things happen when you get older. Weird things happen when you're younger, but you bounce back from them quicker. When you're older, you hold up the freaking piece of toast and you go, I cut my hand on a piece of toast. I hurt my back sitting down to write. How I almost said pathetic, but how odd. None of it's pathetic. As my dad said, growing old is not for sissies. I know he didn't originate that, but um, my dad made his way through old age with as much grace. Coming back from things, he came out of the hospital with pneumonia. A couple days later, he came into my office and said his side hurt. Um, and I said, well, let's go to the emergency room. And he said, nah, we'll put it off. I got an appointment in a week or so and I'll bring it up. And I said, if it hurts, it hurts. No sense being in pain. We went to the emergency room and his gallbladder was septic and it burst. And the doctor said by all rights he should have died. A couple days later in the hospital room, he's walking laps. He's back doing his dumbbells and his bands. He's stretching. That's how to grow old. Keep that stuff up. So, let me catch up with some comments here. Our friend Destiny Forever Walks, PhD, is here. Great day and blessings, Eric. How are you? I am here listening. I'm doing pretty well, Destiny. Thank you. And our friend Simone. Hi, Eric. Peace, Derek. Listening. And Derek says the joys of aging. Yes, sir. It is definitely not easy. Though, you know what? I have hopes for running another 100, getting another buckle in my 60s. Here's what I did with my ultras. For a large majority of the longer distances, I started power walking. Not race walking, using the race walking technique and then relaxing. As I'm not in a race walking competition, I don't need to worry about form. I don't need to worry about, breaking a rule. I just need to walk fast. And I need to be able to do it for a very long time. That was a turn towards well-being because I could still run, I could get the race done, and the next day, almost always, I felt great. As great as you can feel after doing 100 miles or a 24-hour race. I was able to go out the next day and do something. I was able to lift weights, lift kettlebells the next day. That's important for me to do what I love to do every single day. So when my yoga took that turn, when I was doing things because I was seeking to open up energy channels, I was seeking to hold my asanas for longer periods of time, and my body was paying a price, I also started to reevaluate my burpees. Do I always need to be chasing reps? Do I always need to shoot for PR every day? They're certainly nice, but it does your body, your immune system, your sense of well-being no favors. Your central nervous system, you're in that overdrive all the time. It's not good for you. It takes a toll on the adrenal system. So how do I curb that? And it came to me, and I do remember watching a video that Osiris did, and I believe he did it with his sister, trading reps, breathing through the nose. And breathing through the nose is a yogic principle, a major principle in my own breathwork certification teaching program that I had done, work that I'm doing now, that the nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating, with the exception of when you're going all out for something. Then let your mouth hang open and suck in air however you can get it. When you breathe exclusively nasal, you're setting a cap. If I go one rep over that capacity, I'm going to start sucking in air through my mouth, through my belly button, through my ears, everywhere. So you got to be mindful. So I begin putting in that Zen yogic approach. I have to be mindful of each rep so that I know to take that capacity down just a notch so I can continue breathing through my nose. So far, I've really enjoyed it because I can push those numbers. I can push to the edge of where I feel I might mouth breathe, but I don't because I back away and then I start again. I feel energized afterwards. I feel as if I have not exceeded the limits of my adrenal glands. I'm not in that, I'm not fully into that sympathetic nervous state. I'm not in that fight or flight. I'm not in the parasympathetic. I'm not in the rest and digest, certainly, but I haven't overextended myself. Derek had a great suggestion about throwing in sprints, turning it into a running fartlek style. If you're familiar with the term fartlek, it is a Swedish track and field term for speed play, where let's say you go out for a 3-mile run, 5-mile run, and throughout that run, not any set plans, you go fast from point A to point B, and then you go back down to your conversational speed, and you run again, and then you pick another 2 points, and you go fast. Perfect approach for what I'm doing. Not there yet. I'm going to continue building the base, and then I'm going to throw that in. Let's see. Looking at the comments here, Simon says, awesome approach. How many ultras did you run in your total in your life? Well over 100. I did about 10 years of ultra running where I did at least an ultra a month, anywhere from 50K to 24-hour races, quite a few 24-hour races. I participated in quite a few 100s. I did not finish every 100 that I participated in. I generally did 60, 70 for various reasons. DNF, did not finish, or as people like to say, did nothing fatal. I did manage to get 2 buckles, so I did finish 2 100-mile races. The first one being about a week after my 50th birthday, after 3 failed attempts, and then I dialed it in and nailed it. And it was the most joyous running, even though I was on the verge of hypothermia. Maybe I was hallucinating. But what made it so joyous was the miserable conditions, freezing rain. It all crystallized. I could watch that rain, mile 60, watching that rain crystallize in the sky, and I came to this clear thought: I'm going to finish. This is as miserable as I can possibly get, and yet it's so beautiful. It is so wonderful to be here doing what I absolutely love to do. How can I not finish this race? How can I not just keep taking one more step when each step is so joyous? Each step is such a beautiful occasion to be alive. Every breath I take is a celebration of spirit. And my running partner looked at me and said, "You're freaking crazy." And he dropped out. And I kept going, and I got my buckle. Sitting around here somewhere. Wonderful occasion. Then my next ultra, at mile 80, I had to drop out because of some family problems. It was kind of a shame. But I felt so bad, I turned around and signed up for another 100 about a week later and got my second buckle, which I was really happy about because it was only a week after hitting 80 miles in a race. So that's been my approach with burpees the past about 2 weeks now, turning it in again to that yogic Taoist, working with nature, working with my body. I'm tired of working against myself, which also means I'm working against nature, which also means I'm working against reality. I'm not trying to not get old. I'm trying, because it's going to happen. What I'm trying to do is be my version of old, which is, not that I'm calling myself old, my version of my age each succeeding year. And my version means that I get to redefine everything. I get to redefine what aging is all about for me. Wonderful examples, again, with my father, but I can do better than my father because although he took care of his health, he had bad habits that he just wasn't able to address. he did his best to stay in shape. He did his best to be healthy. He was on a host of medication. He was a cancer survivor. He was a stroke survivor. He was a child of the Depression, um, which leaves a mark on you through life, emotionally as well as physically. In some ways, you don't even realize. Same with my mother, who died of Alzheimer's. So I take all that in consideration. That's why um, I'm very careful with my diet. It would be very easy for me to be a cheat vegan. Um, Not that I would eat meat, but I live in a golden age of bad vegan food. I can be just as healthy. I could be just as much of a couch potato, eating chips and all kinds of other crap as a vegan that you simply couldn't do 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Um, but I don't want to go down that route. Being vegan for me is an ethical consideration. It's part of my spirituality, for lack of a better term. It's my commitment to the environment. It's my commitment to animals. How I eat as a vegan is my commitment to my health and my well-being. That's the important thing to me. Um, let's see. Destiny says, well, what an autumn life. Thank you. Um, what an awesome life story. Sorry, I'm seeing the second part. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, my dad, absolutely amazing in his life story. He was the son of a forest ranger during the Depression. Uh, my grandmother had her first child in 1904, I believe, and her last child in 1936. It's a lot of childbearing years. My grandfather was the youngest surviving child, born in 1927. Um, he dropped out of school in the last year of World War II, joined the Navy, shipped out overseas, having never seen a black man in his entire life. Never saw a black person in his entire life. And he was amazed that growing up in a semi-racist area, northern Pennsylvania, they wouldn't consider themselves racist, but there was no experiences with anyone who was other than themselves. There was no experiences with anyone of any different race, very few experiences with people of other religions, and yet they had these definite opinions about how all these things are. And my dad, who was always curious, always loved to read, very shy, when he joined the Navy, he saw the world differently, and he could never go back to how things were. He got his college degree, got his master's degree, became a teacher. It's the same way, come from a hunting background. Everybody in my family hunts. It's in that area, school closes for 2 weeks for deer hunting season. My grandfather was renowned in that area as a hunter. My dad came home from the Navy. He was walking in the woods. He saw a fox and he shot it because that's what you did up there. And he looked at the fox and he realized that he loved foxes. They were beautiful. I mean, how could he have allowed himself to do that? And he packed his rifles away, never hunted again. Discouraged me from doing it when I wanted to as a kid. Didn't stop me, but discouraged me. And then I had a similar response later in life as my father. So for me, he was definitely a remarkable man, and nobody has shaped me, my way of thinking, more so than him. I've had some important teachers in my life, but you only got one father. So Destiny says, your dad must have been also a man. He was, and role model. He certainly was a role model for how I wanted to be. He must have passed the mantle on, uh, passed on the mantle and baton on to you. I try. I don't think I'm there, but I try. Um, so, for me, burpees need to take that turn back to well-being, which again I think is lost because we live, especially on YouTube, especially online, it's a hardcore society. Everything has to be um, this session will do this or that or whatever. Um, Understandable, and everyone loves a hard effort, um, but there's no selling point for a title if I were to say this workout will gently raise your heart rate and cause a light sweat, increase your mobility, and make you feel overall pretty good by the time you're done. That's probably not clickbait, um, although it should be. And here's what I think. I don't know for certain. I think the exclusive nasal breathing, when I allow myself to go all out later, is going to pay big dividends. Um, if you ever do any search for the Bioko or oxygen advantage breathing methods, um, they say that nasal breathing is akin to training at altitude. And we all know what happens when you train at altitude and you perform um, low altitude. Your performance is off the charts. It's a whole different ballgame. So, not that I'm doing exclusively for performance. However, if you get more reps later, that's always a good thing. Again, I'm not abandoning the chase for reps. Things never have to be one way or the other. You don't have to train this way and say, I'm never going back to that. You don't have to say anything. Do the training that you love to do. Make no excuses for it. At the same time, make sure the things that you do aren't destroying your overall health. Sometimes, I don't mind the stuff that I did earlier. I lost a lot of muscle through ultra running. Um, it also messed with my hormonal level a little bit at the time because I was racing so often. I was doing everything from 5Ks to 100-mile races, any opportunity I could. If I could race once a week, I would have raced once a week. Um, and again, I did that for 10 years. And before that, I was training 10 years for kettlebell sport. And then before that, I was doing Olympic weightlifting for fun, and then powerlifting, some bodybuilding, lots of martial arts. Um, I got a bump shoulder. I got a back that gives me trouble. But still, overall, I can do anything and everything that I want to do every single day. That's pretty good. I want to keep that up. I want to do that when I'm 78. I want to do that when I'm 88. I just saw on Facebook a week or two ago, someone set the record for the fastest 100-mile run by someone in their 80s, and he beat the previous record by I think 4 hours. And I thought, there it is. That's the goal. Beat that record in my 80s. And in truth, if I run 100 in the 80s, I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't need to beat that record. But it's fun to have that in your head and think, you know what? Again, redefine what it is to get older. Redefine what it is to be your age, whatever that age is. Redefine what it is to simply be. It doesn't have to be anything. Get rid of all those stories. Get rid of all those perimeters that hold us in place. This is how I do things because I'm a man. This is how I do things because I'm a woman. This is how I do things because I'm stoic. Throw it all out. Just be. Don't tell any stories about yourself or tell temporary stories about yourself and let them go and then have another story. Osiris and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Stories should serve you. You should never serve a story because it leaves you trapped. It leaves you trapped within those perimeters, And guess what? You're living someone else's story, something that you read in the book, something that someone on YouTube said, something that you saw on social media, whatever. To be authentic means that you live without those stories. You can't be authentic and, I'm the most authentic David Goggins knockoff. I'm the most authentic. Um, I think about that in my writing. I try to write authentically, meaning all the things that writers that have inspired me, wonderful, beautiful. But I don't want to write like them. I want to write like me. And that means that I have to throw those voices out. Thank them for the inspiration. And now it's on me to discover my writing path, my creative path, my running path, my burpee path. It's the same. All the burpee people that came before me inspired me, um, brought me here. And now I have to find what's working for me in my own way. Doesn't mean that I abandon sane principles, but it's got to be your own discovery at a certain point. At least I think, for me. Um, Destiny says, go with the flow and enjoy smelling flowers along your journey. Agree, 100%. Especially when we consider going with the flow, that we are the flow. We're every bit the flow as everything else is in existence. We don't have set atoms and molecules for life. We don't have the same atoms that we did a year ago. Every cell in our body is replaced every some years. I think like over 60% every year replaced, and then 100% everything's replaced over a course of time. So we're flowing. We are the flow. We're more of an expression than an object, than a thing, than a body. So why define ourselves as anything? Anything at all? So, always fun to talk about burpees. When I do live sessions, I don't talk about burpees enough. Although, Mocha would say, all you ever do is talk about burpees. And for her, that's probably true. But I also talk about other stuff a lot, incessantly, she might say. From all kinds of... She sees my obsession scale all over the place. Lately, it's been beavers. Because 20 years ago in my neighborhood, we used to have beavers. Neighbors complained, and they took them away. But other neighborhoods in my little suburban city, it's a planned city, Columbia, Maryland. Absolutely love being here. I grew up here. It is just a wonderful green oasis. Hundreds of miles of paved bike paths. When I was training for ultras, I could leave my house and do a 30-mile out and back run, only crossing one road the entire time. And yet, it's still in a suburban area. So other neighborhoods, villages, as they're called here, have beavers. But for some reason, they took them away from my neighborhood. And I think that is an absolute travesty. I'm not petitioning to bring them back, but mentally, spiritually, I am calling them back. I am walking them back. Every time I walk, I do my earliest walk well before the sun comes up. And I am sending mental trails to the beavers from my neighborhood villages to bring them back. And then, of course, I talk about this all day when I walk with Mocha. To the point where she starts missing when I would rhapsodize about other things. Which before beavers, it was owls. Because I track owls in the morning. I wait until I hear them. And then my entire walk is geared towards finding the tree that they're calling from. Then I just stand under the tree and let them talk. I try not to interfere. I don't even want to shine a light because it's obtrusive. It's bringing a bit of my civilized world into their natural world, and that's not for me to do. So, the course of this talk, it appears very clear to me that I've revealed how completely weird I actually am, how completely weird my life actually is, and which is perfectly fine, because again, I've given myself permission to be authentic as much as I'm able, which should be fully. But you know what? We're all conditioned. We all have those blocks, those binders that sometimes stop us. But when we recognize that's a binder, that's in yogic psychology, it's called a samkara. It's a mental imprint that keeps me from being who I truly am. As soon as I bring awareness to it, it starts to dissipate, disappears, and you're free. Yoga is all about freedom. Buddhism was all about freedom. Christianity used to be about freedom. Not so much anymore. Not that I am speaking ill of Christians. So, actually, I'm gonna wrap it up now. Our friend Derek is back. It says just back in time to hear. I missed a great one. It was fun. It was fun to talk, as it always is. It's always fun when I'm blessed with the right people here, and Destiny Forever Walks PhD is always the right person. Osiris is always the right person. It was really happy for Simone to make a surprise appearance. Of course, Hybrid Jim is again one of those people, as is Lewis. So, I'm going to end it here though, around the 31, 32 minute mark, which I think is better, because that way, if people want to catch up on anything that might be said, it's a bit easier than when you talk for an hour or so, which we all know I'm capable of doing. Destiny says it shows your true self. The Bible says that we are a peculiar people. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Wonderfully so. Beautifully so. The more peculiar, the better, because that means we're being our authentic selves completely. I'm definitely drawn towards weird. And, remember spelling weird, the W-Y-R-D, the traditional pagan, shamanic, weird being completely different than just being strange. Weird is our connection. Weird is that web of infinite beingness. And that when we tug any one strand, the entire universe vibrates in existence with it. So, all right, guys, we'll wrap it up. I appreciate everyone being here again. Destiny says, thanks again, Eric, and thank you. Derek says, stay weird, everyone. We certainly will. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for some burpees. I think it's going to be a nasal breathing Navy SEAL session, which I'm still iffy about. I'm happy I was able to do it, so now I want to see how well I can do it, if that makes sense. You guys have a good day. Take care.